What is up guys, in this video I'm gonna show you how I made an emotional dance music track in FL Studio. I'm gonna break down the track and share some of my production tips, and hopefully you will get something out of this video. So let's jump straight into the project. Okay, so this is the project, and as you can see everything is nicely color coded and named, so hopefully you can make some sense out of the whole project. So let's just start by just playing the track. Okay, so this track is really melodic, and it really defines the way that I produce. I really like to add a lot of melodies and small vocal chops and bits here and there. So for the sake of it, of just making this as easy for you guys to understand as possible, I think I'll just go through everything downwards. So we will just start with the vocals. So these are, I believe they are from Output Arcade. So I just bounced it to audio, so I had a little bit more control. So these are the vocal chops. And of course there is some effects on it. So if we go to the mix track, I'm just going to turn off all of the effects, and I'm just going to put them on individually so you can get the idea of what's happening to the vocal. So I have just looped this part and we can just hear it. So the first thing is a delay. So it's low cutted a little bit and with a little bit of feedback, and it just gives that more LoFi kind of vibe to it. And then the next we have an EQ, and just to remove the low end and the high end, so we get this more telephone kind of effects to the vocals. And then my faithful RC20 plugin, I can't produce without this anymore. And just adding wobble with some kind of chorus, some distortion, the space for reverb, and then this magnetic knob to make the audio a little bit worn out, sound a little bit old, I guess. I think the emulation is for. And the last thing is some sidechaining from Cable Guys, the volume shaper. Just to get that heavy sidechaining. Okay, so that's actually it for the vocals. If we look at the whole arrangement, then I have the vocals in the intro just to introduce them. And then they are coming back in this second part of the first drop. I like to call this the B part of the drop. So here, from here, this area is the A part of the first drop, and this is the B part. And the reason why I call it A part and a B part is that I then know that I need to do some changes. It could be to introduce new stuff or just take out stuff. And here I introduce the vocal chops. And then I have them here in the build up towards the second drop. Then the vocal chops are also present. And then I have some automation here just to drive the delay. So it's the width of the delay, and that's before the breakdown. And then I have it here towards the B part of the drop number 2, also just to wash out the vocals a little bit. So if you take a listen here. Awesome. Okay, now we go to all of the melodic instrument parts. The first thing is a guitar melody, and this one is bounced to audio. And I believe it's from Labs, Spitfire Labs, which is a free plugin that you can download, and then you can download a bunch of sample-based instruments. And I think this one is called Lap Steels, so it's guitars. I just bounced it so I could work a little bit more freely with it. So it sounds like this. So this is actually a melody playing at the B part in the second drop. So it's only present here, not in the first drop. So if we go to the effects, I have Guitar Rig 6 with this choral, which is a chorus, and then a replica for some delay. Just to give the sound a little bit width. Then RC20. Basically also the same settings as the vocals, just without the reverb. Then I have Neutron from Isotope, just to do some EQing, removing the low end, removing a little bit of this low mid area, and also a little bit of the 3K area because it has like some resonance, and it was also fighting with the drums that we are gonna go through later on, and then do like a low pass at the high end. So I'm just removing a little bit of high end that I really don't need. And then lastly, I have a limiter here, but the limiter is for sidechaining purpose. So the kick drum is the sidechain trigger for this guitar melody. And I'm just gonna show you later when I'm going through the kick how you can set this one up. So yeah, this is the sound. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing is some chords. And these chords are from Serum. And it's actually a preset that might be included in a future Serum preset pack. I just have to pull myself together to make it finished. But this is just like a stabby kind of sound. And there is actually not any processing done. So it's just all of the built-in effects in Serum. So some chorus, hyper, distortion, delay, and reverb, and a little bit of compression. So yeah, nothing fancy there. It's just the chords. So here. I believe we are in D minor. I'm not a musical theorist, so if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment field, but I believe it's D minor. Yeah, so together with the guitars. So when I'm doing my chord steps, I try to put them at some areas where they can drive some rhythm. So that's the reason why they're not like on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's more like it's on the offbeat instead. Okay, then let's move on. Then I have some piano chords here. Also bounce to audio. And I believe these are from the Maverick in Kontakt 5. And they are just treated with some EQing, removing all of the like high-end information. And then again, some sidechaining. Okay, and all of these instrument parts are routed to an instrument bus. And the instrument bus, there are some EQing, removing the low end, a little bit of the high end, and then some bus compression from this solid bus compression from Native Instrument. And it's just to glue the sounds together a little bit. Awesome. Okay, and then I have, again, a little bit more of chord steps. So it's this sound. And this is not Serum. This is actually this Fruity DX10 FM synth from, and it just sounds really pretty good. I think it's a preset. Like honestly, I just tried out stuff and it worked. So I think this sounds pretty dope because there is like a lot of processing going on. So this is without anything. And this is with. So I added this comp filter from kilohertz. I added the structure module from FL Studio, and added like the crusher, bit crusher component just to get like a little bit of bit crushing to the sound. Then I added some delay, and to finish it off with some like side chaining. Again, the chord steps are also driving some rhythm, and they are actually not placed on the offbeat. They are actually placed on a 16th note. So it really works well when we get to the drums and also the bass. So these chord steps and these chord steps are actually playing really well together. You can actually get your hands on this FL Studio project. So all of the audio files, the MIDI files, also the mastering and mixing presets, everything is available by going to the link in the description, and you can see how I made this track. Okay, let's get back into the video. Then the next thing is this E-piano melody, which is really dominant throughout the track. And it's heavily compressed and distorted. And it's coming from the Kontakt 5, Scrappy Mark 1, I think it's called. I just really love these E-piano sounds, and I think I use an E-piano sound in all of my project because it just sounds so nice. So if we go through if we go through all of the plugins on the effects track, I have again Guitar X6 with some delay, some chorus again, a compressor, I think it's like an L2 emulation, and then some EQing. Yes, just to give it some delay, some width, and a little bit of compression. And then this one, this soft limiter from Apogee, is really good at like introducing some great distortion to the sound. Like I really like these not so polished sounds, and I think this soft limiter really like does the job. And then I have like this stereo thing, just to reduce the stereo information of the E-piano. It's from kilohertz. And then some sidechaining from volume shaper. So let's listen to everything together with all of the instruments. So one thing that I really tend to make sure is, and this is something that I learned recently, the last couple of years, is when I add a lot of stuff, I have to make room for all of the added stuff. So with all of like my melodic components, I tend to look at these patterns and see if there are any pockets where there is no sound or nothing going on. So that could be a really great place to add something. But if there are, for instance, too much stuff happening at one area, then it might not be a good idea to add something. So sometimes when I produce, I do like all of what all of other producers are doing is like doing this 8 to 16 bar loop and just going through. Then I just keep on adding stuff. And eventually, when I think I'm done at adding stuff, I listen, and then I see if are there some areas that are way too busy, then I remove stuff. And maybe there are areas that are not that busy, then I can like put in stuff there. So if you look at it, everything has like its own like space in the mix and in the track. And that's also with the EQing, like removing stuff with an EQ or pulling stuff backwards in the mix with a reverb or something. Like that's a really good tip from me to you, because this really like made me produce better, in my opinion, if I compare some of my older stuff. So yeah, that was just like a tip for you guys. Okay, so let's move on. Then I have like this one called Sample Chops. This is actually an audio sample from Splice put into Slicex and just chopped up to bits, as you can see. I think we can play the entire sample when I do these chops in Slicex, I actually have no like structure of how I do this. I just try out like what notes sounds great, like what slices sounds great, just play around. And I just came up with this pattern, and then I made sure that I just controlled A and just quantized everything like according to like an MPC style swing, so it's not like that robotic where the samples are being chopped and placed. So this is not like a really dominant element in the track. It's more like to drive some rhythm according to the chord steps that I mentioned earlier, and then the drums that we're gonna go into later. So it's all a matter of like balancing your stuff. So if we play this together with everything, you can hear that it's just playing in the background and just adding like some really awesome like shuffly movement to the track. So I really like that. Then I have like this phaser disco thing, and I actually believe this is the sample that I chopped up with Slicex, but I just added a bunch of phaser and some reverb, a little bit of EQ, and just bounced it out, because I like to bounce out my stuff so I don't have to work that much with MIDI, because then I have to commit with what I'm doing. So instead of having like a lot of options, having to tweak stuff, I just bounce into audio, and then I tell to myself, this is okay, move on, and then I can finish my stuff. And then I have like this. This is also the same sample, just with a lot of reverb and a sidechain, just to make it like pump. And then this is just playing in the background, just to add some awesome flavor, soundscapes to the sound. Then I have like these reversed organ sweeps. And they are from my sample pack called Housy organs, which you can check out on my webshop. Okay, so the last thing I'm just gonna show you is that on the instrument bus, I have added a tape stop effect. So when everything is building in the build-up, it pauses. Just for like a great transition thing. Okay, so now we have covered all of the instrument stuff. Then I'm gonna go to the bass line. Okay, so this is the bass line. Like a simple MIDI pattern, but the key here is to add swing. So what I have shown with the chops, just select everything and then go to quantize and then load up an MPC style swing preset, because that really adds like so much vibe to bass lines and in general like everything that has to be rhythmic. The sound is from Monarch, and I just love this plugin for creating basses. I believe this is a Moog emulation, and it just sounds so like heavy and deep, and like I really love it. Processing wise, I have some EQing from Neutron and also some exciting, but I just split up the band, so it's just like the upper part of the bass line that are being like adding some excitement, some distortion, and this is a tape extortion. And then for EQing, I'm just removing some of the high end because it's not needed for the bass, and it could interfere a little bit with some of the other stuff that are happening up here. So if it's not making any like big difference to your track, just remove it a little bit, because it makes room for other stuff. Again, back to the thing with the balance. And this one also have like a soft clipper, just to make sure that there are no like peaks of the volume that are going above like a certain area. And then it's also sidechain with the kick using the Fruity limiter. So now I think we should go to the kick drum, which is this. Like a really distorted kick, short kick. Then I added like a transient shaper from kilohertz just to add a little bit of more attack. and then turn the sustain down a little bit. And also a soft clipper. And I like to really turn up the volume of my kick drums and push it into a soft clipper, because it can add like some more weight and some more punch to the kick drum. And then this kick drum is being routed to all of like the sidechain inputs of the other elements. So the bass line, the instrument bus, and the guitar melody. And how you do this in FL Studio, if you just go to the instrument, the mixer track that you want to sidechain to, and you push this little button here, and you go to sidechain to this track. And then if you open up, for instance, Fruity Limiter, you can go here to comp and then select sidechain, and you can see like kick drum here is appearing. So every time the kick is playing, this is gonna reduce the volume. So if you hear, if we remove the kick, you hear there's no sidechaining. Okay, so this is really like thumpy and really driving the rhythm. Are you still watching the video? If so, why not considering subscribing to my channel? Then you can stay up to date with all of my future videos. It will just mean so much to me. So thank you very much, and let's jump straight back into the video. Okay, so for all of the drums, I'm just gonna go through this really quickly because we don't have so much time left, and otherwise this video is gonna be too long. These are the claps, the hi-hats. And for the hi-hats, as you can hear, like I added an auto panner just to make the panning go from left to right, just to add some interesting things to the hi-hats. And then my approach for drums is to add some loops. So I have some of my own pre-made loops here. Because it's a great way to add rhythm and also to layer your drums using loops. So I use loops like, just for this instance, these were some of my own, but I also use splice loops and other loops from sample packs and stuff. And then another hi-hat loop. Then I actually have some sticks percussion here that I don't use in the drops, but in the build-up. I think this just sounded cool in the breakdown. And then I have like a percussion loop, just to add something more. Then I have like some simple hits here, just to like, I think they are panned like hardly to the right and the left, just to add some stereo interesting to the drum. And then I have some, I have a ride loop here. Really basic stuff, but it just adds like that extra layer of highness to the drums. Then I have some drum fills here, also from my sample packs called House Fills. Shameless plug. But for fills, it's just a great way to add a transition between sections. And then as you can see, I'm also like removing almost all of the elements just before like a transition, because I think the most effective tool in terms of transitions are actually silence, because then the listener, you grab the listener's attention and then everything hits. Okay, and then I have like a build up here. Awesome. And then again, with the instrument bus, I also have a drum bus where all of the drum elements are being routed besides the kick drum. And then in this drum bus, I have a transient shaper. I also have a filter and also a bus compression. And the filter is used to just like make the drums a little bit more like in the background in the breakdown. So as you can hear, everything is like a little bit more tucked in the back. And then it slowly opens up when we go to the drop, and everything's over. And I think it's a great way to like go from a drop section and then go to a breakdown and then going up to a build up. So it really works well. So let's play like the drums and the bass together. This works really well. Okay, so the last things down here are just a bunch of effects and stuff, and I don't want to go so much into depth with this because these are mainly just samples I found on Splice and something that I made myself. So again, risers and downlifters, cymbal crashes, small small saps. But I think the most important thing for me in terms of adding organic stuff and vibe to my tracks are actually to use field recordings in the background of my track. And it's like really, really subtle in the mix. This is actually a sample that I recorded while being on vacation at the Canary Islands at a restaurant. And it's just, I just added like some sidechaining, panning, and removing the low end and the high end with an EQ, and it just adds like such a really awesome texture to the track. And then together with some ocean waves, like this stuff really makes sense. Okay, so at the top of the project, I have some automation clips. The first one is just reducing the master volume of the master channel. And I just use this, I think it's called a balance knob from FL Studio, just with automating this volume knob. And then the next thing is like I have a stereo plugin here from Kilohertz, just reducing the width. So just before the drop, I just reduce the stereo width. So everything tends to go really close to mono. And then when the drop hits, it just opens up to the normal level, and then it sounds more like in your face. And then I have a filter, just doing a high pass filter, also just before the drop, just to really make the sound almost disappear in a way, the low end at least. And it also grabs the listener's attention. These are the effects here. And as you can see for the master brush, it's actually not that much stuff happening. I actually only have Ozone 9 on my master bus, but it's also doing like some EQing, some dynamic EQing, a little bit of imaging, and then of course like the limiter, the maximizer. Okay, so that's actually it for the project. Let's just have a listen of everything together, and yeah, let's go. So my CPU was struggling a little bit there, but hopefully you could listen to the finished result. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you learned a little bit about how you can make your own emotional dance music track. If you liked the video, it would mean so much to me if you will smash that like button or even subscribe to the channel. If you're looking for some sound inspiration, I have a bunch of sample packs and preset packs on my web shop, and you can go check them out. The link is in the description. So I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, peace.